everyone, I am Tahalil and today I'll be reviewing a very favorite book of mine, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. So in this video I will be talking about a brief introduction and about the historical context in which this book was written, a little bit about the author Victor Hugo, and later I will be making more videos in which I will talk in depth about the characters and we'll talk in detail about it. So after watching this video, I would recommend you to read this book so that we can have a very fruitful discussion. Maybe you can come up with different ideas, because I always believe that when you read a book, everyone has a different angle, and these angles are what actually makes these books great. So talking about the book, this was written in French language, and this is a translated version. Actually, I really like this version because this has different explanatory notes, so that you can, because this is about France, right? And usually we don't know much about the history of a particular country. So if you look into this, you will have side notes so that they will guide you, but every historical maybe character or building's name is all about. So very good book. I will put it in the link about this version of the translation. So talking about Victor Hugo, he was very famous for his romantic writings. He believed in human emotions, and similar thing you can find in this book. It was written in 1862, but he worked like around 20-30 years on this book, so you can well imagine that this is his masterpiece. If you go to any classic section of any library, you are going to find this book. So going back to the historical context, it actually deals with the French Revolution, that period of 1789 to 1832 in particular, given on less or more 5-6 years. So that actually period defined what we see the France today. Because there was monarchy in the start, then Napoleon took over and he became the emperor, then he had to go back, then he came again. Meanwhile, we had some episodes of republic, and Victor Hugo, he's actually urging us all in this book to look and to see around and decide that, okay, which system is good for the people, which system is gonna work for us. So all he wants to do in this book is to make you think. So that's why I really like this book. This is very beautiful. So he talks about human emotions, different kinds of humans also that we see around in our society. Some are very bad, some are very cunning, some are very kind, some are changing. So what he wants to emphasize in this book is that this is not like gray, black and white. This is not black and white. This is gray as well. A convict, which is the main character of this book, by the way, he stole a piece of bread and that made him a criminal. But should we always treat him as a criminal? So that's a very good moral question. Even today we are talking about capital punishments. Should we give very severe punishments to the criminals, or should we treat them with respect once they have completed their punishment? So these questions are even relevant in this society. And then he challenges the cherished morals, the morals that a society has kept for years, and now we have come to the point where we actually don't know why are we keeping them, and it's actually hurting our society, our very people, and it's bringing them to misery. So he asks you in a very subtle way that should you keep them or should you just throw them away? And the very good thing, like I really liked about this book, and also Victor Hugo as a writer, that he talks in a very suspenseful way. Like I was talking to my friends and I told them that if you want to make a movie out of it, which actually was made, but I don't like that one, I'll explain later. But so if you want to make a movie out of this, every scene is very detailed, everything is written, but the words and the ideas are very subtle. Like, for example, he will his main characters are talking to themselves, and they are asking different moral questions. They are talking about different moral paradoxes with themselves, which we all do. So actually, when you read them, for example, there is a young guy. His name is Marius, and he first used to believe in the monarchy. He used to love it because of his grandfather. Like we all know, we have been very young and very naive, and we used to believe whatever our parents say. And then he comes across different literature, and he starts reading about Napoleon. And he thinks that, okay, emperorship is actually good for us, so I will not hate it. So he is a very privileged guy. He gives up that privilege, and he then starts living a life, and he loves emperor. But later in his life, he met some revolutionary people, and then his ideas are again confronted, and he's very much upset about it. That, okay, I made this idea on my own, and now it has been challenged again. So these kind of things are very beautifully written, very beautifully explained in this book. And actually, he is trying to say that, okay, the internal revolutions are going to bring up the greater level of revolutions, like on the scale of a country, maybe on the scale of a continent, maybe. And in that, he brings up his very beautiful ideology of a unity at a grand scale, about compassion at a grander scale. We should consider that this book was written in 1862, and if you know a little bit about the history, you know that at that time concepts like United Nations or European Union were not there. And in this very book, actually, Victor Hugo specifically writes about that concept, that there should be a committee or a group of people or countries that should resolve the conflicts between countries in Europe, and then it should expand itself. They should meet twice a year or maybe more, and they should resolve it so that the normal people, the common people, do not suffer because of them. And then he brings in the point that until we achieve that thing, revolutions are actually part of it. Revolutions are resting stops, they are mediating stations where the progress of a country or a society should rest and think and reconsider and reach and challenge their own ideologies, and to see that are we going in the right direction or not. So overall, this is the gist of this book. It has a police officer who believes in implementation of law, but then he finds out that, okay, maybe it's not always the case. So these are different characters who go on and they are evolved. I will explain later about every character. I don't want to bore you right now. This is just an overview. If I want to summarize this all book in a single sentence, which is like impossible for any kind of book, but if I want to give you an idea, it's that it's all about how internal revolutions can bring the external revolutions and vice versa. And how should we treat them? We should treat them with respect, and we should always look to challenge our own ideas, our own society. So this book, that's why I like it, because it urges you to think, it urges you to challenge your mind. And at many points I found it like it's talking to me, and you will also find that. So that was all about the introduction. If you have any feedback, any comments, any suggestion, you are most welcome. You should give them in the comment box below, and I will be doing next videos very soon. It's 5 or 6 main characters. I would like to talk more about them, go in depth about their lives, and we will talk and we will discuss, because I want to initiate a discussion rather than just giving a review. I know you can find many reviews everywhere. This is a very famous book, but let's talk the discussion. Let's talk that how you see it from different angles, how I saw it from different angles. So it talks about love triangles, it talks about revolutions, it talks about monarchy, democracy. So it's a little Game of Thrones without dragons, I can say. So I'm looking forward to your comments and your suggestions and a fruitful discussion with you guys. Thank you all for listening. Stay tuned.